Good morning, everybody. I'm sitting here this morning with Bob and Linda Hudson, and we've been been through an experience with a company called Philanthrocorps. And the reason we went through it is because of a strong belief we have in our church and what our church is doing on the missions front, and just as a church in general in our community, making a difference for the Lord here. So I remember when Dana and I were talking about the church and whether we were going to come be your pastor. One of the things that really moved us about First Baptist Clinton was its commitment to missions. We saw it because we were here right before Christmas, and we saw a huge missions offering for international missions. But we also heard about all the mission trips that the church had been doing, and it really got us excited that a church wasn't interested in just writing a check to do missions, but really was willing to put their lives out there doing missions. And so that was one of the great things that attracted us to this church in the first place. And as you say, it continues to be a place that encourages not just giving, but going and doing missions. So that's kind of what you really love about First Baptist. What is it that made you want to put First Baptist Church in your estate plans, in your will? Who wants to talk about that?
The scripture that you are blessed to be a blessing, and we feel like that we have been blessed with people giving in the past, and we want to have as much emphasis in this church and the world learning about God as we possibly can before we leave the world.
Or after we leave the world.
Well, true.
Yeah, I think it ensures that the programs of the church will be maintained. The missions programs, just the very campus, the building, the local emphasis, just the presence of the church in the community. So I think if the community were to go downhill and the members didn't have money to support the church the way they do now, even though times are tight now, this endowment could provide the necessary income to keep the church functioning and witnessing in the same scale that it does now.
So to get ready for this estate planning process, the Baptist Foundation of South Carolina put us in touch with a group called Philanthrocorps. And you have had an opportunity to be on the phone with these folks and have conversations with them about plans and writing plans and all that. Can you just kind of share how that experience went with Philanthrocorps, some of the good things you learned or things that maybe came to light, or just share with us that experience?
The thing that pleased me the most was how willing he was to work with us, and the calls, always pleasant, always willing to help. Any question that we had, contact me anytime that you want to. He was just very, very helpful.
And they give you ideas that you would never think of. Obviously, I'm not much into legal aspects anyway, but in other words, they give you ideas how to best allocate the money, how to put money aside for different needs. In fact, if you want to set your children up with a trust fund so they get a certain amount on a monthly or quarterly, I should say, basis, you can do that and then still have money left at the end to give back to the church again or some other charity. So they give you all kinds of ideas and possibilities. And then we went to see the lawyer that did our first will. And then, of course, he asked a couple questions, and he didn't seem to follow it as well as these people from Philanthrocorps. They're experts in this. And we go back to the fellow at Philanthrocorps, and he comes right back with some great ideas to follow up with. And he contacts the lawyer through email and sends him written material and so on and so forth. So they're just really on the ball and helpful.
Yeah, one of the things that Dana and I really appreciated about it was how much money they're going to save our children in taxes. I think we talked about that.
Yes.
Y'all found the same thing to be true?
Yes.
Yes.
The way we had our will set up, and we'd already drawn up a will 15 years ago, but the way we had it set up, we were going to lose a huge tens of thousands of dollars if we kept it that way. And the guy from Philanthrocorps just took us down the road and was like, I mean, that was the way to set it up. And I love that idea that we can give to the Lord without having to, I don't mind paying taxes, but I don't want to give Uncle Sam more than he's due.
Right.
So, that's great.
And but one thing that pleased us was, we said, well now, how much do we owe you? Because we thought, oh my, here we go. So, but he said, nothing. All the hours we spent, I mean over a period of months, that we had spent with him, and he had given us such good advice, there was no cost.
No cost at all.
Which the Hudsons love.
Yeah.
Did you feel like, as you went through this process, that going through the legacy planning process that you went through with Philanthrocorps gave you the chance to honor your family and honor God?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have it both ways.
That's great. Bob and Linda, one more question, and it has to do with your legacy at First Baptist Church. When I came to First Baptist Clinton, you guys were already active here and very much invested in all kinds of aspects, the teaching and leadership with children and on missions in particular. But if I were to end this conversation on a real high note, what I'd like to ask you is, what do you think your legacy was going to be at First Baptist Church in Clinton? And then, now that you've had an opportunity to include First Baptist Clinton in your estate plan, what do you think your legacy might be from here on?
Yeah.
Well, I think about how, people who've gone on, people that I don't think you knew, and that Eloise Ellis
She was gone. Okay.
and her husband, just
George.
people that were here, and I still miss them, and they were so loyal to this church, so loyal, and I think, I hope to be remembered like that we did our best, we did our best. Not much, but we did our
No,
best.
I think you will be remembered fondly by a lot of us. Bob, you want to add anything about legacy, about your legacy?
I'd like to be, it would be nice to think that, well, yeah, they'll remember me as a teacher or working in the community or something like that. They probably would remember me more as the guy that messes up. On that first mission trip you mentioned, the first mission trip, Charlie Cannon, I hope he's out there, and I worked on one column, and they were going to come in and pour concrete in that column. And our columns, there were several columns built by different teams, and ours was the only one that broke and let the concrete pour out everywhere. So that's probably more what people will remember me for. But with the legacy, with this, I don't know that people will know what we left behind, but those that do know will also remember that we cared enough to help the church keep moving even when we're not here.
Yeah, the impact will be felt.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether anybody knows whose
Right.
specific bequest
Right.
that was
Exactly.
that made that difference. I think about this whole emphasis that we're doing is our giving tree, sowing seeds today, growing trees tomorrow. An oak tree comes up in my yard. Not quite sure which tree the acorn came from that gave birth to that oak tree, but it still grows into an oak tree, regardless of where it came from. And I love that about our church. We've always had that missions mindset, and it's been a neat process going through this, thinking about what I want my legacy to be. And I can tell you, as the pastor here for the last 18 years, that you guys have quite a legacy at First Baptist already, and excited about what the potential this financial legacy is going to give to our church's future. Thank you, Bob and Linda.